Today I'm going to share with you 4 exercises that me and my students use to improve the transition game. Hello, my name is Vlad and I've been coaching for the last 10 years, but also played for the national team table tennis back in the day. So I have my boy Kevin with me during training session. Everything's going to be in the background. And I decided to record all those 4 exercises to just perfect the transition game. Some of the exercises, and at the end of the video I'll show you how would I structure just a session. So exercise number 1, it's easy. It's called 2-2-1-1. So the base of the exercise is you do just basically your 2-2 basically with the twist. 2-2 is probably one of the greatest exercises if you do it for warm up before tournament. If you need to just to get the feeling of the ball. 2-2 should be a go-to. 2 backhand loops, 2 forehand loops to somebody's backhand or forehand. It's really about twisting and turning exercises to help better your game. So when we talk about 2-2-1-1, what I noticed specifically, especially with my students and Kevin here, the 2-2, because it's been implemented so often into people's regiment. 2-2 is such an exercise that you do it all the time, that twisting it in this way makes the brain function a little bit differently. And a lot of the players that I tried this exercise with, they just forget that it's supposed to be 1-1. So it's just switching a little bit quicker. So you go from 2, obviously if you do 2 forehands, it's easier to switch to 2 backhands because you have that second shot to kind of balance yourself out. But then you're just breaking the tempo with 1 shot at a time. And it's just a great exercise to kind of start and get the feel for the transition game right. I'd recommend starting forehand and 2 backhand, but then you can also switch every other practice. You can switch to backhand to forehand. So yeah, really nice and easy exercise to start things off. And let's move on to exercise number 2. Second exercise I really want to talk about is figure 8s. So I've been there's actually an exercise that Sanuka introduced to me, and I found it really interesting or really fun to do. Also makes you as a person who blocks the shots kind of work in a way that's very interesting. So the gist of the exercise, it's basically a 2-2, but you do first one diagonally, second one down the line. So if I'm the attacker, I start with the backhand. It's diagonal backhand, down line backhand, and then we switch from forehand. It's going to be diagonal forehand, down the line from forehand. So this one is really great for a transition game, especially if we consider making the exercise more difficult down the line. What I like to do is, if we're doing an exercise, we do it for 5 minutes with the base one, and then we just switch and we just start to stack up more difficult elements into each exercise. So with the figure 8s here, we start off just by blocking. Your partner is blocking. The first more difficult step you do is whenever you receive the first forehand to forehand, you counter that. So it would be you block backhand, you block forehand, and then the first forehand attack that you're supposed to receive, you're countering that, and then the other person has to counter that down the line. So this is the first step up. Second step up would be to counter the first backhand. So by those incremental steps, you can add basically you can add difficulty to each exercise, and you can upgrading the difficulty of the exercise infinitely, technically. So figure 8s is a really great exercise for that transition game, especially if you if we discuss the added elements of countering from forehand or backhand. So you can try it out, see how you feel. Exercise number 3, and what I like to do is we do 2 exercises that are planned out, more of a set style, and then the last 2 exercises would be reaction based. So first, me and Kevin did is the backhand to backhand counter, and then the person who technically in this situation is passive, which I was in this situation. It's switch to forehand and back. So basically we're doing counter to counter, and then whenever your partner decides to switch it to forehand, he does. You have to cover that with forehand, transition into the forehand, and then back to backhand. Really simple exercise in terms of the concept, but really difficult when you actually start to back countering and you're getting up to speed, this exercise becomes a little bit more. If you look to get more control and a little bit more control under it, I'd recommend just if after backhand counter, if you switch, it's going to be just a flat ball, like almost like a block to forehand, so that your student or your partner gets a little bit more time on the ball. But yeah, this is one of the exercises that I love to do, and this is really helpful in order to just get the transition game super right. Number 4 would be free table attack. Free table attack versus backhand. So this is what my coach used to call it, free triangle. I don't know if people ever call that, but we'll just go with that. So a free table attack versus backhand is just simple. It's basically like playing a game where your opponent where your partner who blocks just on the backhand, and he plays free table. And the person who attacks just attacks everything to backhand or forehand. It depends on what you want to do, how you want to set up the exercise, but it just attacks to one spot from the whole table. This is a great transition one as well, the reaction-based exercise that everyone... This exercise was actually when I was training for national team and all of that stuff, every day that was the last exercise in each practice that we did. This was a must-have, and this is one of the best ones you can do for your transition, also for reaction. So it just sets up really nicely for your attacking game if you're an attacking player, and you just find the rhythm of attacking. If you play against someone who likes to block a lot, this is kind of the exercise. Obviously in the game you're going to be switching directions and stuff like that, but this is the kind of exercise they're going to teach you not only during the transition game, but also the patience of how it's supposed to be played out. And a big advocate for having that exercise in every single training session you do. So what about if you come to a practice and you only want to work on transition game, you have an hour of time. Like usually some of my students just have an hour, and we have to fit all of that. So 60 minutes, I'll do this exercise for 10 minutes each. With increments. So if we build out a session before each of those exercises, we'll do 20 minutes of warm up. What I mean by warm up is forehand to forehand, backhand to backhand, down the lines, loop forehand to forehand, loop backhand to backhand. You block a little bit, and that warm up with just basically playing with every single element. It's part of your practice, but we call it warm up. Is around 20 minutes. Everything else should go into these exercises. Each exercise will be 10 minutes long. So with this exercise, I would love to do just 10 minutes straight up without adding any difficulty. Basically this exercise should be just 2-2-1-1 without the extra switch of direction or extra elements. Figure eights though, I would love for this to be around 5 minutes just flat, and then we the next 2.5 minutes we keep adding. So 2.5 minutes we add forehand loop, forehand counter to the mix, and then after another 2.5 minutes we add backhand to the mix. It's going to be together. It's going to be 10 minutes. So 5 minutes, 2.5, and the good 10 minutes of that exercise. Obviously there will be breaks in between, about 1 minute, 2 minute break. It shouldn't be much longer, especially if you do an hour session. There should be just flat out like intense work. You don't have much time, and we need to get as much of it as possible in that little session. Back to back counter, that's 10 minutes. There's nothing really to add in this exercise as far as difficulty, and we go 10 minutes of this as well, because in this one you can technically add more counters, and it just depends on the level of your student or your partner that you play with. But just use your imagination to kind of add more and more difficulty to each one of those, and you're going to be golden. So this is how my hour session would look like for each of those. 40 minutes altogether for the 4 exercises and 20 minutes of warm-up. I think it's more than enough. Or obviously if you would do warm-up in 10 minutes, you have 10 minutes of serves You can break those 20 minutes down as well like that. So this is what I would recommend for a transition game, for exercises that you can do. There's obviously a lot more, but this would be my base, and then we can go from there. If you like this kind of video, let me know. I wanted to bring you more kind of my training sessions plus my training kind of brain into this channel. So let me know what you think about those. I would really love to help you out with your game and with that whatever by whatever means possible. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, or you want to just speak to me directly, you can always message me on Insta and we can talk, discuss, and go from there. Thank you so much for watching. Not to waste any more of your time. Have a good one. Have a good training session, and bye bye.